Good morning, good afternoon. Very happy to be able to have gone live this whole weekend. Wanted to be able to at least be make a presence on here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend. So I'm excited that I'm able to do this. Hello, usefully. Good morning, Victor. How's everybody doing? What's on the mind? Happy Saturday. My morning's beautiful. Thank you. I was able to get me and my mom's car repaired this morning. Um, for the most part, got everything taken care of with those, and was able to get a good gym session in. No, I don't watch football. Zach, why I don't like the Matrix 4? Um, it has no relation with the Matrix Trilogy of the three movies. That series was already completed. They finished the series through Resurrections. He was able to, I'm sorry, Matrix Revolutions. He was able to realize there was no fight. No fight existed. He was the entirety. And this is ultimately a point of no return. So there is no forgetting, which is why I was skeptical going into seeing The Matrix 4. And I gave it a fair chance, but it turned out to be exactly what I expected. And I get how some people's perspective of the movie was the joining of masculine and the feminine and those ideas. But the whole Matrix trilogy was beyond that duality, beyond the dual aspect, where there is no masculine, there is no feminine, there's something that is sourced to both. There is something that is beyond the two playing, or the one playing as two. And that's what the Matrix was about. Neo was this playing of Smith and Neo, of good and bad, yin and yang, and eventually had to realize he was the one playing as the two, which comes at the ultimate price. It will be the end of you in a mental way. The Matrix 4 does have a good lesson. And it's the part where the therapist is talking to Neo and he talks about people wanting enslavement. Deep down, people think they want to be freed, but they ultimately can't handle not having a system or a boundary to steer them, guide them. Um, as much as we want to be free, our greatest fear ultimately is of ourself, not of some entity, not of some logo, not of some corporation or government. Greatest fear is of ourselves. And that's why it's scary to do the inner work, to look in the mirror. Because again, it will be the end of you. The greatest conspiracy is with you and yourself. The words that we use are empty. They are for us to communicate only. But what a human does is it paints its consciousness onto this mural, onto this screen. And it's not the objects that are changing, it's only yourself. It's not the spoon bending, it's only yourself. When your level of awareness changes, likewise do the objects you have painted on the screen for yourself. The only reason these objects are on this screen for yourself is for you to inevitably realize the problem here. The whole government conspiracy and these things leading you into problem are revealing to you the problem greater, which is you are not who you think you are, nor do you exist where you think you are. That is the ultimate problem. That is what corrupt government is meant to lead us into. The true revolution, which can never be televised. But you let the wrong information, the wrong people steer you and misguide you off of emotion, and they will have you running into the screen of your own consciousness, thinking this will bring about a change, the revolution. It won't. It would be like you jumping onto the floor, the concrete, and trying to strangle your own shadow while people stare and think, what an absurdity. What is he doing? It's the very same. The fight is with you and yourself, and it remains so because this great conspiracy remains with you and yourself. You have yet to look into that mirror, which will terrify you, which is why we avoid it, which is why we prolong it just a little longer, which is why we spend our day in hurry, We always hurry so we can keep the mind distracted, never in the moment. Because if we stay in the moment for too long, it will reveal to us our true nature here. And remember, this conspiracy is with you and yourself. So if you are not ready to face yourself in this moment, you will prolong it. And you will rush from place to place and get lost in the game. Alexander says, now that you have attained the light of truth and found yourself, does it ever feel like you've accomplished everything you needed? And does it feel boring ever since? So quite contrary. I've finally realized that what I've been attempting to accomplish as Tyler has already been accomplished and can never be achieved through Tyler. Tyler is the accomplishment. This experience, this incarnation, is that accomplishment. And the longer Tyler does to achieve this accomplishment, he misses the accomplishment through himself. You miss the whole experience. You have already achieved it. And everything that I've ever needed is and always taken care of. That's where the ultimate control is, in surrenderance and letting go, being like water, flowing, allowing no impact, remaining shapeless. There is nothing we truly need here. Everything we need is provided for. And this discovery is anything but boring. If anything, it's the boring trying to force an experience, trying to make life day after day more spiritual. That becomes a bore because ultimately you're trying to always be in control, and your influence has to always do to make this moment better and more pure. That becomes boring. That becomes a great effort, a great strain. And that is why the human being can never live up to its own capacity, to its own expectation. You'll never fulfill yourself through a doing, nor buying, acquiring. That's the greatest acquirement, is realizing you already have it. There's nothing you can buy here that will ever make you whole. You already have it. The reason the child is happier than the adult is the adult exists in time and thought. And so we're always looking at time. It's 3:30 right now. A child doesn't exist in time nor thought. They exist in the mystery and bliss, where no thought is needed, no effort is required of you to make the moment any pure. The child is experiencing the greatest mystery of all and is allowing it to flow. Doesn't need explanation, doesn't need a scientific proof of anything. The child is flowing as the moment. Simplistic. The moment is undetermined, unpredictable. It is the mystery. It's anything but boring. And when you surrender to the moment, you are free from doing, you are free from choice, you are free from person, you are in unity with the moment because you don't need to think. You are it. I actually have a perfect quote for trying to extend an effort to be what you already are, for trying to do something and then achieve that result, which is essentially what you already are before the doing and after the doing. And that's why the doing is not fulfilling. It may bring a feel good feeling, but it's not permanent. It's not there to stay. You'll have to do again. Return. This is from Lao Tzu. He says, "The snow goose need not bathe to make itself white, neither need you do anything but be yourself." There is no second or higher self to search for. You are the highest self. Only give up the false ideas you have about yourself. That, that's from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaja. This is from Yoga Vasistha. The world is only there as long as there is an I there to perceive it. If there is no I to perceive light, to perceive dark, then it remains undivided. Excuse me. The only reason we see these concepts of light, of dark, of earth, of body, of duality is because the I thought. That's exactly the point, Corey, and that's exactly the point, Christos. This is why I don't answer every question that appears on here. I'm focusing on the right questions, people who are sincere, people who are serious. I'm not just looking to answer typical questions, and I'm not just looking to answer questions that are about me, what my religion is, what I believe. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference. This won't transform you. This won't grant you the experience. So, what I look for is the right questions, the questions that lead people back into themselves. Who am I? Those people who are sincere, who are serious and ready to check out. Because that's exactly right. That's why I tell people to make sure you're asking serious questions, not surface level questions. Because surface level questions only create 10 more. When you begin asking the right ones, the walls start closing in on the questioner, and inevitably, that questioner is returned to silence. You run out of words because you've cornered yourself. The answers I seek to provide are answers that are already within you. It's nothing but reminder to go back in, a reminder that no one is doing this to you. No government is doing this to you. No one's forcing you to do something. You are the great cosmic plan, the great cosmic scheme. And whatever is and will be is you doing it. If it's the day comes where we must get a shot, we must do this, we must do that, it is you that is doing it. This is my reminder. There is no victim here. There is no human being. The human being is the victim. The human being is the illness here. The human being is what is responsible for every war, for all division, for all hate, for all animosity, because it still does not recognize itself. And it still wishes to prolong what it inevitably knows deep down, subconsciously. And that's why I love the quote, loneliness is the central and inevitable fact of human existence. Deep down, we know it's all us. That the clock ticks on this human experience, this temporary thing, which is why we choose so dominantly to identify with it. We don't want the dream to end, this concept of ourselves. I can tell where people are at based on the questions they ask. Because again, there's different levels of freedom, there's different levels of peace. Some only want physical freedom, of the physical world, as long as I'm free here. Some want mental freedom, some want spiritual freedom, liberation, which is what the Buddha taught us. He revealed to us our sufferings and the liberation out of suffering, the liberation out of the illusion of yourself. What's up, Gavin? Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon, Natasha. Bob, good afternoon. Welcome. So I ate shrooms and a sandwich. That's how I personally did them. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich on an empty stomach for the most effective result. And as I've said, at this point, you have to acknowledge that you will be out of your own control. You will have no decision making. You're surrendering that the moment you take mushrooms or any form of DMT. You're acknowledging that you are surrendering your decision making and your choice, which is why I tell people psychedelics is not the only way. You can surrender yourself, your choice, your decision making right here, right now, into this moment. But very few people are willing to do so. That's all it takes is the willingness, the persistence. So, what psychedelics does is it assists people because the moment you take it, you have about 30 minutes to an hour before it starts hitting you and kicking in, and it removes the pieces of yourself and starts stripping you from the mind and body. Good evening, Robert. Welcome. And that's one thing that doing mushrooms showed me was I was quoting all these men for a long time. Eckhart Tolle, Jim Carrey, Muji, Papa G, Ram Dass. I was quoting all these people, Alan Watts, for the longest time before I did it. And it wasn't until I did mushrooms that it showed me, you've been quoting these all this time, and you have yet to experience all these quotes you share. That's what it directly showed me. It's like I thought I knew, but I had no idea. The whole message I was sharing at the time was all is one. I believed it, but I had yet to experience it. I had yet to actually know what that experience was like. And so it showed me you must directly go into yourself, know yourself, and you will know each one of these quotes because you will ultimately remember you are every single one of them, each and every one. And as soon as you make the connection of who you are, you'll instantly know and experience that oneness that these men talk about and share. And it is the greatest laugh with yourself, attempting to understand what is staring you in the face. It's so obvious that we miss it. It's so simple that we overcomplicate it. It's so obvious that the scientific community simply cannot figure it out because they have already missed it. They're overlooking it. Surrenderance is the ultimate freedom. It's when you decide to exchange all these words that you exist through and have experienced life through. It's when you decide to exchange them for the experience itself. Enough talk, enough quotes, go directly into the experience. Experience these words from within yourself. They represent what you have already achieved, what you have already done, what you are capable of. They are reminding you what you can do. Yes, Shrooms is where I broke through. Shrooms is where I died and never came back. That's why I say to people it's a point of no return. When I speak to people on integration and my experiences with mushrooms and psychedelics, I tell them I've never come out of my trip of mushrooms. I am in the medicine. Why? Because I am the medicine. That's the ultimate message. You're inseparable. What need is there to return if the medicine is you? If you are the medicine, once it shows you what you need, there is no returning. That's the point of spirituality, to totally die. That's why Buddha taught total death, which again, very few are willing to do. Why do you think there aren't 100,000 Buddhas walking the earth? Very few are willing to pay the price. It's not something that is hard to do and requires a brilliant mind, a high IQ that not everyone has. Everyone is capable. Everyone can achieve this or can realize this, but not everyone wants or needs or is willing to disturb their comfort and be that vulnerable with themselves. Because this journey, this path is the ultimate vulnerability with yourself. You'll never get more vulnerable. Is the complete stripping of yourself from beginning to end. It's like reading the final chapter of your book and skipping all the middle, dying before physical death, and discovering the great secret at the end of the movie, at the end of the trick, at the end of the story. Pulling back that curtain and discovering in that immediate moment who you truly are, the point of no return. There is no forgetting. So to answer the first question from the beginning of this video, that's why I don't like Matrix 4. Neo doesn't forget. The Chosen One doesn't forget. Those who have awakened do not go back to sleep. It's not an unlearning. It's not something you unlearn or forget. It is your beingness. And once the illusion falls, there is no shrinking your mind back into that lower self-awareness and pretending just to be one little speck, one little ant, one little form. There's no going back. There's no forgetting. Which is why there's nothing that can be done. You can't meditate and instantly become the all-knowing. You can't put a crystal around your neck and instantly have knowledge that you didn't previously have access to. You've had the power all along. It's simply remaining grounded in awareness. You know why so many regret taking the red pill? Because it was a blue pill disguised as a red pill. The red pill is the final frontier. It is the immediate awakening of the being. There is no more suffering. The red pill is a Buddha, the end of suffering, total abolishment, the ego death. This is why so many people regret the red pill. They've mistaken it. It's not truly the red pill. That's the danger about knowledge. That serpent that the Bible talks about. It comes bearing beautiful gifts, but this knowledge will not transform you. This knowledge that you remember in the memory in the mind through words keep you from the highest knowledge, the experience itself. And that's why I say when we're ready to surrender those words, that knowledge, which is meaningless, surrender them and exchange them for the experience. That is how you acquire wisdom. That is how you exchange the knowledge for wisdom. Knowledge is cheap because it can't transform you from the inside out. Wisdom does just that. Through wisdom, there is no practice. You're always in practice. You're always in meditation. There is no handbook on how to be a healthy adult or a healthy parent. The moment is the practice. You're always it. But remember, the mind is what creates such a stirred up game here, such an ordeal. This knows the way, but this speaks louder. Always remain grounded in awareness, because this knows the way. This is the natural intelligence that has everything taken care of. But this is the subject that complicates something which is already perfect and must do something in order to experience that perfection. But you can experience this right here at all times, throughout anything, no matter where you are. Hey, Noose. Welcome. So back to your question, that's the danger of knowledge too. Why revisit what's within us if we already know what's here? I've already figured this out. I know what this speaking mechanism is. I already know. So again, this becomes boring. You discard it. I know what this is. I understand. So why revisit this? Why ever look within again? And that's why the focus remains on understanding everything but where the diamond you seek lies. You have it the whole time. But so long as you seek, you can keep pretending that you don't just a little longer. There is no microcosm and macrocosm. There is but one repeating pattern, looking up or looking down, looking above or looking below. And that pattern is showing you there's not two things. That's why the same pattern up there repeats down here. You are inevitable. There's nowhere to go. We can try and think smaller, microcosmic size, or much bigger macrocosmic size. But the pattern will still reveal to us ourselves, but not a self that is familiar, a self that is quite contrary, selflessness, which precisely is what awareness is. Awareness is no self. It is selfless. Because think about it, before you have a self, before you are Tyler, before you are name, before you are able to look around a room and establish where you are, awareness must be there first. Awareness is no self. Through awareness, we can attach and identify to consciousness, the byproduct of awareness. But even consciousness will change, will evolve. But that which is beyond the form does not change. There is no artificial life, an organic life. And this conspiracy will be the final conspiracy with this human race. We think we're human, but every question we've ever asked about the human race will be answered through artificial intelligence. revealing the singularity, revealing that these are not two species, revealing that they are one and the same. Thus, the word singularity means one. You will not have an organic and artificial being meeting as two. It will be the one joining together. Complete unification. But again, you must lose yourself to find yourself. Face the parts of yourself which are unfamiliar, which you'd never recognize, in order to recognize the selflessness, the source to self. If anyone has any questions for tomorrow's video, feel free to leave them in the comment section for this video. I'll leave the donation link in the comment section as well. And thank you to everyone who joined me on here today. Thank you to everyone who shares the content, and everyone who has donated thus far. I appreciate it very much, and I hope everyone has a blissful weekend. Again, I'll see you tomorrow. If anyone has any topics, feel free to leave them.